Shelter, Chapter 3, Part 1. My combination lock never opens on the first try. I don't know why. I had just done the numbers 14, back to 7, over to 28. Nope, it didn't open. I was about to try again when I heard a now familiar voice say, "I collect bobbleheads." I turned to see Spoon. "Good to know," I said. Spoon gestured for me to move out of the way. He pulled a huge key ring, found the one he was looking for, and stuck it in the back of my lock. The lock opened. Presto. "What's your combination?" he asked me. I said, should I tell you? "Hello," Spoon jangled the keys in my face. "You think I need your combination to break in?" Good point. I told him the numbers. He fiddled with the lock and handed it back to me. It should work with no problems now. He started to leave. "Wait, Spoon." He turned toward me. "What did you call me?" "Oh, sorry, I didn't know your name." "Spoon," he said, looking up at me and smiled as though trying the word out for the first time. "I like it. Spoon. Yeah, call me Spoon, okay?" "Sure." He looked at me so expectantly. Spoon?" He beamed. I wasn't sure how to ask this, but I figured, what the heck? "You have a lot of keys there." "Don't call me Keys, okay? I prefer Spoon." "Yeah, of course, Spoon it is. You said before that your dad is a janitor here, right?" "Right. By the way, the White Witch in the Narnia series, I think she's sexy as all get out." "Yeah, me too," I said, trying to get him back on track. "Can your dad really get you into locked places in the school?" Spoon smiled. "Sure, but I don't really need to ask my dad. I got the keys here." He dangled them in case I didn't know what keys he meant. "But we can't go in the girls' locker room." I asked him about that. "Right, no, not the girls' locker room. But you can get into other places." Spoon pushed the glasses back up on his nose. "Why? What did you have in mind?" "Well," I said, "I was wondering if we could get into the main office and check a student's file." "What student?" he asked. "Her name is Ashley Kent." School ends at 3 p.m., but Spoon told me that the coast wouldn't be clear until 7. That gave me 4 hours to kill. It was too early to visit Mom. I was only allowed night visits because Mom was supposedly working on her rehabilitation during the day. So I headed back to Bat Lady's house. As I walked out of the school, I noticed a voicemail. My guess, it was from an adult. Kids text, adult leaves voicemails, which are a pain because you have to call in and go through the prompts and then listen to the message and then delete them. Yep, I was right. The message was from my Uncle Myron. "I booked our flights to Los Angeles first thing Saturday morning," he said in his most somber voice. "We'll fly in and then back the next day." Los Angeles. We were flying out to see my father's grave. Myron had never seen the final resting place of his brother. My grandparents, who would meet us out there, had never seen the resting place of their youngest son. Uncle Myron went on, "I got a ticket for your mother. Of course, she can't be left on her own. I know you two want a private reunion tomorrow, but maybe I should be around, just in case." I frowned. No way. "Anyway, I hope you're fine. I'm around tonight if you want to grab a pizza or something." I didn't feel like calling, so I went to a quick text. Won't be home for dinner. I think it'll be less stressful on Mom if you're not around. Myron wouldn't like it, but too bad. He wasn't my legal guardian. That was part of the deal we struck. When he found out that my father was dead and that my mother was having problems, he threatened to sue for custody. I countered that if he did, I'd run away. I still have enough connections overseas, or I would sue for emancipation. My mother may have some issues, but she's still my mom. It wasn't a pretty fight, but in the end we came up with, if not an agreement, a ceasefire. I agreed to live in his house in Castleton, New Jersey. It was the same house both Myron and my dad grew up in. Yes, that was kind of weird. I used the basement bedroom, which had been Myron's room, and do all I can to avoid the upstairs room where my father spent his childhood. Still a little creepy. Anyway, in return for agreeing to live in the house, Myron agreed to let my mother remain my sole guardian and, well, to leave me alone. That was the part he had trouble handling. When I looked now at Bat Lady's house, I shivered. The wind had picked up, bending the bare trees in her yard. I had seen every kind of superstition in all four corners of the globe. Most seemed downright silly, though my parents always told me to keep an open mind. I didn't believe in haunted houses. I didn't believe in ghosts or spirits or things that go bump in the night. But if I did, man, this would be the place that had it all. The place was so dilapidated it actually seemed to lean, like if you pushed too hard, it might just crumble to the ground. There were loose boards, some windows were gone and replaced with wooden planks. The one that remained was fogged up as if the house just took a hot shower, which, judging by the dirt, wasn't really possible. If I hadn't seen her with my own eyes, I would swear that this house had been abandoned for years. I approached again and knocked on the door. No answer. I put my ear close to the panel, not too close, because I didn't want to get a splinter, and listen. Nothing. Not a sound. I knocked some more. Still no answer. So now what? What could I really do here? Something? Anything? I decided to try the back door. I circled to the left because, like I said, the house tilted, and if it suddenly collapsed, I didn't want it to fall on me. I looked up. There was a window peak way up high. For a moment, I imagined the Bat Lady sitting up there in a rocking chair, still dressed in white, looking down at me. I heard my steps, wondering what I'd find in the backyard. Nothing. The house came right up against the woods. It was the strangest thing. It was as though the house was built half onto the plot of land and half in a forest. It was like emerging from the trees. From the street, it just looked as if there were a ton of trees in the backyard, but it was all trees. The roots seemed to merge right into the foundation. Thick, ugly vines ran up the back wall. I don't know if the house was originally built in the woods and then a clearing was made for in the front, or if it was the opposite, if the woods behind it had sneaked up and started to swallow Bat Lady's house whole. What are you doing? I bit back a scream and jumped high to dunk a basketball. The voice had come from behind me. I spun around quickly, taking 2 steps back and banging into a tree. It was Ema. Scared you, huh? She laughed and lifted her arms into wings. Did you think I was the bat lady coming to take you away? My voice was a whisper. Knock it off, big tough guy. What are you doing here, anyways? I asked. She shrugged. Wait, were you following me? Really, Mickey? She put her hands on her hips. Conceited much? I wasn't sure what to say to that. I was just, Ema sighed. You mentioned Bat Lady and you came to my rescue, right? And then I guess I just got curious. So you followed me here? Ema didn't reply. She looked around as though she just realized that they were in the woods, half leaning against the back of Bat Lady's house. So why are you here anyways? No luck with the fat chick, so you figured you'd try an old one? I just looked at her. I heard what they said, Buck and Troy. They've been on me for so long it's hard to remember a time when they weren't. She turned away and bit her lower lip and then faced me again. I also heard they threatened you for defending me. I shrugged it off. So what are you doing here? I wondered how to explain it and went with the simplest. I want to talk to Bat Lady. Ema smiled. No, seriously. I am serious. No, you're not. Because, well, she's not real. Bat Lady's just a myth the big kids use to scare the little kids. I mean, I don't know anyone who has ever seen her. I've seen her, I said. When? This morning? Then I added, she told me that my father was still alive. Ema looked puzzled. He died in a car crash earlier this year, I explained. Whoa, Ema said, her eyes going wide. I'm not sure what to say to that. I just want to talk to her. Okay, I get it. I saw you knock on her door, so what's your plan now? Try the back door? Makes sense, I guess, Ema said. She looked toward the woods and narrowed her eyes. Look at that. She pointed into the woods and took a few steps in that direction. I didn't see anything other than trees. There's a road back there, Ema said. Maybe a building. I still didn't see it. She walked toward it. I followed. A few steps later, I could see she was right. Maybe 50 yards behind the Bat Lady's house, was what might have been a garage, painted in a brown green that worked to camouflage. There was a dirt road from somewhere in the woods leading up to it. You couldn't see either one from the front of the house. Heck, you couldn't even see them from the back door. Ema bent down and touched the dirt. Tire tracks for a car. She said it like she was following someone in a old movie. This must be how Bat Lady goes in and out through this dirt road. She can park and go in, and no one would ever let see her. Bat Lady drives. What do you think? She flies? I felt a chill. The garage was in better shape than the house, but not by much. I tried the garage door. It, too, was locked. There were no windows, so I couldn't see if there was a car inside. I didn't know what to make of all this. Probably nothing. An eccentric old woman lived here. She likes to go in and out through a private entrance. Big deal. There was no reason for me to be here. Except, of course, she had known my name. And there was this bit about my father being alive. Who says that to someone? Your father still alive? Who does that? Enough. I spun around and headed to the back door. I knocked. No reply. I knocked harder. There were dirty windows on the door. I cupped my hands around my eyes to look inside, and while I did, I felt the door give way just a little. I looked down at the doorknob. Decay had eaten away at the door jamb. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet. Ema was by my side now. I extracted a credit card, hiding the name on it from her. Whoa, she said. You know how to break in? No, but I've seen it on TV. You just sort of slide the card. She frowned. And you think that'll work? Normally, no, I said, but look how old the lock is. It looks like it'll break if I breathe on it too hard. Okay, but think it through first. Huh? Suppose the door does open, Ema said. Then what? I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I jammed the credit card into the opening of the jam. I slid down, and it met resistance. I slid a little harder, nothing. I was about to give up when the door slowly opened with a creaky noise, noisy enough to echo into the woods. Whoa, Emma said again. I pushed the door the rest of the way open. The creak grew louder, causing birds to scatter. Emma put her hand on my forearm. I looked down and saw her fingernails were black. She had silver rings on every finger. One was a skull and a crossbones. That's breaking and entering, she said. Are you going to call the cops? I asked. You kidding? Her eyes lit up. She looked younger now, sweetest, almost like a little kid. When I saw the hint of a smile, I arched my eyebrow, and that, I guess, scared it away. The sullen was back. Whatever, she said, trying to sound like she couldn't care less. It's cool. No, not cool. I knew that this wasn't the smartest move. But the need to do something here, anything, outweighed the personal concerns. Besides, really, what was the risk? An old woman had yelled out some crazy thing to me in the morning. I came to check on her. When there was no answer, I decided to make sure she was okay. That would be my story. We were going to do lock me up for that? You might as well go home, I said to her. Dream on. I guess I could use a lookout. I'd rather go in. I shook my head. Ema sighed. Fine, I'll be the lookout. She took her she took her cell phone. What's your number? I gave it to her. I'll stand over there. If I see her flap her wings, I'll text you. By the way, what are you going to do if she's inside, waiting in the dark to pounce on you? I didn't bother to reply, though in truth I hadn't thought of that. What if that lady was waiting for me and what? What was she going to do? Jump on my back? I'm 6 foot 4 inch teenager. She's a tiny old woman. Get a grip. I stepped into the kitchen. I didn't close the door behind me. I wanted a quick escape in case. Well, whatever. The kitchen was from another era. I remember watching a rerun on a black and white TV show called The Honeymooners with my dad. I didn't really think it was very funny. A lot of the humor seemed to come from Ralph threatening to physically abuse his wife, Alice. Ralph and Alice had a refrigerator, if that's what this was, like this one. But that lady's linoleum floor was dirty, yellow of a smoker's teeth. A cuckoo clock was stopped on the wrong time. The bird was out of his little brown house. The cuckoo looked cold. Hello, I called out. Anyone home? Not a sound. I should just leave, really. What was I looking for? Your father isn't dead. He's very much alive. On the one hand, I knew better. I had been in that car with my father. I saw him die. On the other hand, you just don't say a thing like that, and not expect a son to demand an explanation. I tiptoed across the peeling tiles. I passed a checkered board tablecloth like something you'd see at a pizza joint. There were salt and pepper shakers stuck to it. The contents hardened. I stepped out of the kitchen and stopped in front of a spiral staircase leading up to the second floor, where, no doubt, Bat Lady's bedroom was. Hello? No reply. I put one foot on the first step. Then those images, the one of Bat Lady maybe getting dressed or showering, filled my head. I put my foot back down on the first floor. I wasn't going up. At least, not right now. I entered the living room. It was dark. The key color? Brown. Very little illumination made it through the dirt and wood covering the windows. There was a tall grandfather clock, also not working. I spotted an old fashioned cabinet stereo, a hi fi, I think it's called. It had a turntable on top, vinyl albums that were stacked on the side. I spotted Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, the Beatles walking across Abbey Road, and My Generation by The Who.